Just what the doctor ordered. A video of a guy that's never made the national team before and likely never will because he's 31 years old and doesn't really swim anymore, giving you his thoughts on the national team and reacting to the thoughts of people that were formerly on the national team, like Rowdy Gaines and Michael Phelps and kind of Ryan Lochte, just reacting to it. So hopefully that's something that you're interested in. This video is going to be somewhat scripted just because I want to give you my well thought out reaction to all of the comments made by Rowdy Gaines and Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte. But also I want to give you my well thought out reaction and opinion on USA Swimming right now, the CEO search that has gone on for over 340 days up to this point, and just swimming's culture as a whole currently. Additionally, towards the end of this video, I will give some pretty direct feedback, I think, for USA Swimming and for the community, because frankly, I just don't think that we've done a good enough job moving this sport forward. Myself included, myself 100% included in that. Now, as someone who gets to feel the heartbeat of this sport, good writing there from me, I'm on pool decks all the time, talking openly with coaches, with athletes of all levels, with parents, and with people like Rowdy Gaines and Michael Phelps. And honestly, I do not feel all that good about where this sport is headed. That's not a death sentence by any means. And I don't think that my opinion being a little bit more negative on the sport means that the sport is doomed. I'm not that big-headed. I do have a large head. Actually, I guess it's not that large. It's pretty normal. But it is a sharp sentence that hopefully puts a bit of perspective into just where I'm currently at. I know some of you might relate with that as well. Now, let's start things off by running through a little bit of a timeline of events that got us to this point. Now, a while ago, Team USA had nationals. I still think nationals, or as it should be called, World Championship Trials, is one of the biggest missed opportunities for USA Swimming to create an event, a true event that rivals that of Olympic trials. It might never be the size of Olympic trials. It might never be the same style of event, but I think it really isn't out of the realm of I bet it really isn't out of the realm of possibility for it to be 25% the size and impact and fun of Olympic trials. It's the biggest domestic event that we put on almost every year. And if this is the best that we can do, what we put out this year and what we've put out in the past, and someone tells you that this is the best we can do, they're lying to your face. We can and should be putting out a better in-person and on-stream product for our biggest domestic event of the year. Now, we select our national team at this event, and they head off to a training camp in Thailand. All of a sudden, an article floats out that hints at some of the Team USA members, Team USA athletes more specifically, being sick. International travel, you're run down, a couple of people get food poisoning. That's my immediate reaction. Nothing crazy, right? But nope, the team is getting absolutely smoked by a gastrointestinal virus of sorts. And from what I've gathered, it was bad enough that some athletes were losing double-digit poundage. Interesting writing, but we're gonna roll with it in the lead up to Worlds. And for the people that need a little bit more help with math, that would be more than 10 pounds. Absolutely brutal. That's not a fun 10 pounds. It's not a fun 10 pounds to get you ready for bikini summer. That's bad writing. Dude, come on.
You get the point.
That's 10 pounds coming off athletes that are absolutely shredded to the bone already. That's muscle loss. That's a lack of the ability to retain salt, food, water, everything important when you're trying to compete at a high level. All right. So World Champs kicks off and it's a little bit rocky. Coming into this meet, really on paper, I thought that we had one of the most talented women's teams that we've had in a really long time. I still believe that. And we had a men's team that absolutely needed to have a couple people step up, but had a lot of young talent that was ready to kind of give the world stage their first look at them. We had guys adding 5-10 seconds in races. We had multiple events where we didn't have anyone even make it back to semifinals, which is relatively off-brand for USA Swimming. We're lucky to be able to say that. And then really the nail in the coffin, I think, was when the mixed medley relay missed the final in the mixed 4x100 medley relay. Redundancies. Again, this is brutal. Well thought out opinion, whatever. Missing the final, I really think was the only real misstep that could have been, handled a little bit better. We missed a final, a really big final. And I think we need to be a little bit more aware of how good the world has gotten and how deep the world is. Prelim relays really need to be looked at as like semifinals, if not even more so like finals from now on. The rest of the world's just too deep. What came from this is the more important part. It was a quick jab online from Ryan Lochte, where he used an AI generator to put USA Swimming on a tombstone and mock a funeral and tag Phelps. And before we get into this, I do not think that was the right timing for something like this. And I do not think that was the right messaging for something like this. At the end of the day, Ryan Lochte, Michael Phelps, whoever is allowed to be critical of us as a sport. If you're an athlete and you are an entertainment product, you are putting yourself out there for criticism. I am doing the exact same thing right now. I get criticized all the time. It is a part of the job. It is just a part of it. I don't know what Ryan's intentions were with it. He hasn't really delved any deeper into it, but I have spoken with Michael, and Michael's been pretty active on social media, publicly talking about this whole thing. So his opinion is pretty well understood. The backlash from this was pretty hefty. Rowdy Gaines did a piece as well with AP where he says he kind of misspoke a little bit and used the word entitled or entitlement as opposed to maybe just like a lack of awareness that could point back to the mixed medley relay or some of us missing semifinals or just kind of expecting that we could be in semis or in finals. Now, to Team USA's credit, they clapped back after all of this stuff came out and had the best day of their meet so far on the last day. And of course, on her way out of the meet, on her way out of her last meet, Lily King has to throw a quick jab back at Phelps, Lochte, and Rowdy, of course. And I think that's fair. I think that's totally fine. You know, as I mentioned a few times in this video, this team was stacked, absolutely stacked. And I think some of the disappointment from Rowdy and Michael was because of that fact, or I assume they feel as though this team was kind of let down by the organization as a whole. Not that they think the team was slow and that we're bad at swimming or that we are underperforming because we're just like treating it like a summer league meet. But then we get to the point where we are today. And I know this is a long video, but there's a lot of groundwork to be laid before I jump into my thoughts. Yesterday, Rowdy Gaines released the following statement on Instagram, and I will just read you through these pages. If you've already read them, you may fast forward. Michael Phelps is right, and I'm not backing down either. Let's be honest, when Michael Phelps speaks, the swimming world should listen. I agree with that. So when he posted a meme last week showing a tombstone for USA Swimming with the words, "Call it a funeral or call it a fresh start, we've got 3 years," that wasn't just for clicks. That was a message, a challenge, a wake-up call from the greatest swimmer, no, the greatest athlete in history. And I stand with him. If that post made you uncomfortable, good, it was supposed to. Aggressive, no doubt. I agree with probably 70% of what we're going through there. And hopefully my opinions at the end of this video will illustrate which 70% I agree with. I have a comment on there where I pretty much say that I agree. Now, this isn't about the athletes. It isn't about throwing stones at the athletes. It's far from it. I've spent the last 50 years as one of their biggest cheerleaders, but both Michael and I are saying what many are thinking: something is broken in the way USA Swimming is being run. And if we don't fix it now, we risk losing the very culture of excellence that built this program in the first place. I want to stop here for just a second and point out the fact that I have had private conversations with both of these men, Rowdy and Michael, and this is 100% how they feel. This is not about the athletes. They are not disappointed in the athletes themselves. They are disappointed in the organization. Very different. As you know, I understand that the way that it was kind of crafted initially could 100% look like they are calling out the athletes for poor performance. I will not entertain the idea that this is not accurate. This is not backpedaling. This is an adjustment to a kind of knee-jerk statement that was made to paint the picture of what these two guys really do think about the organization. And more so, it really feels like they are, feeling for these athletes who what I'm assuming means that they just think they were let down by the organization. This is bigger than one meet. Yes, this team battled illness. Jason Knapp and I acknowledged that on air repeatedly. The athletes gave everything under brutal conditions, far from home in a post-Olympic year. They showed resilience and heart. And yes, Team USA won the overall medal count and the gold medal count. That should absolutely be celebrated. But we can't confuse that outcome with long-term health. A strong medal haul doesn't mean there aren't serious structural issues underneath. I'm not a great out loud reader, I guess. I should have done more of this in school. If we only measure success by what shows up on a scoreboard, we risk missing the warning signs that could cost us in the years ahead. This isn't about one meet or one virus. It's about a vacuum. That was an unnecessary joke. USA Swimming has gone an entire year without a chief executive officer. Yeah, that's not just an oversight. It's a failure of leadership. And that's what Michael and I are calling out. His post wasn't an overreaction. It was a gut check. Our clubs, our coaches, our culture, the athletes are showing up. The coaches are doing the work, and our club programs, the lifeblood of American swimming, continue to develop world-class talent every day. They haven't failed, but the system that's supposed to They haven't failed, but the system that's supposed to support them, that's another story. There are hardworking, passionate people inside of USA Swimming, including the new national team director. I give full credit to Coach Greg Meehan for his leadership at the World Championships under impossible circumstances. That's important right there. But they've been left without clear direction. No permanent CEO, no long-term plan, no real support. That's not just frustrating, it's demoralizing. They deserve better. We all do. If you're on that board, it's time to lead. If you're on that board and reading this, let me ask you plainly, do you believe where we're headed? Dude, this is rough. This video is just going to be like, can Kyle Sockwell read out loud? Do you believe we're where we need to be? That's not that complex of a sentence. I am just a complex individual that cannot read, apparently. If not, then act boldly, transparently, now. Hopefully my lack of the ability to read off of a page is providing some much needed comedic input in this video. This isn't about Michael, it's about the moment. Michael and I have been talking nearly every day for the past year, not about politics or headlines, but about how to help this sport and the athletes we care so deeply about. His post, he didn't post that message for attention. He has nothing to gain by speaking out. He did it because he knows something has to change, because he cares, because he's not willing to sit on the sidelines when the sport he helped elevate is losing direction. Neither am I. We didn't take this public lightly, but we're out of time for silence. We're powering through this. This isn't about drama. It's about accountability. It's about urgency. It's about making sure that when LA 2028 arrives, we are ready, not just to win medals, but to show the world what makes American swimming great. Let me be clear. Much has been made of a single word I used in an AP interview, entitlement. Some have taken it out of context. I wasn't criticizing individual athletes. I was speaking about a mindset, one that for generations came with wearing the stars and stripes. It was never about arrogance. It was belief that Team USA would always rise to the occasion, because for decades we did. I had that mindset in 1984. We all did, but the world has caught up. That's a fact. Many of the best international swimmers now train here in the US. The competition is sharper, hungrier. That's not a bad thing. It's a reality check. And the sooner we accept that, the sooner we start climbing again. LA 2028 is a once in a lifetime chance. I know what a home Olympics feels like. He is very qualified to speak on this situation. Very qualified. I lived it in 1984 when the games came to Los Angeles, LA, and I had the honor of standing on top of the podium in front of a home crowd. That moment shaped my life. Motivating. Most athletes never get the chance. Even Michael didn't. Leon did. I got to be in person in Paris and watch that. It is unbelievable. This generation does, once and maybe never again. We cannot squander it. We owe it to them and to the next generation watching from the stands, the screen, or the edge of their local pool. It's not too late, but the clock is ticking. We can fix this, but not with spin, not with waiting, not with more silence. Let's fix it together. Now, where do I stand? I think as a whole, we are letting our athletes down. We are letting our fans down. We are letting ourselves live in a world where, for some reason, our current events and culture are our inevitable future, as well as our present. Let me explain what I kind of mean there. I just read that off the page. For some reason in this sport, we are so caught up in believing that the product and the world that we currently exist in our sport and our swimming ecosystem, is our inevitable outcome in perpetuity. We think that this product that we have, that we consume, that we watch, that we, go to practice, we think it is just the only thing that is possible for this sport. And it is so unbelievably tough to watch, and it kills innovation. It does. We decided to, for some reason, accept that is just what it is. And that decision to accept our fate as a sport that has 17 people in the stands at finals for a domestic series finale championship Is exactly why our athletes aren't able to support themselves as they chase their potential beyond college swimming. It is exactly why we see athletes getting dropped by suit companies during the 3-year period between the Olympic Games. It's exactly why we are getting manhandled as a sport in the college swimming or in the college athletic ecosystem, while other sports innovate and find new ways to engage fans and get linear exposure on TV. We are some of the most competitive people in the world in the water. And then for some reason, the moment we step foot off a pool deck, our current reality is for some reason the way it will always be. We lose that competitive edge, that motivation, the ability to compete as a whole sport for TV time, for media exposure, for anything, for fan engagement. We lose that competitive edge for some reason. And this next generation, as someone who talks to them a lot, isn't down with that. It's a situation that we're running into where if opportunities to swim in college keep drying up, I see this younger generation just being much more readily or available to just move on. Swimming is an unrelenting grind of a sport with minimal opportunity for success. And sure, part of that is part of what makes this sport beautiful, but it's also an unnecessary thing for us to accept as our holistic, inevitable story. It's the thing that keeps us from being able to build up events that are of true value to fans and to the media, that act as a bridge of interest for an athlete coming off of the games to pitch to a suit company or brand partner to keep them on contract for another 3 months or another 6 months or another year to get closer to that next big media opportunity. Our events are high-level domestic events, and our lack of interest in developing them for fans is what I would point the finger at as our first opportunity for growth at USA Swimming. If you're an athlete and you're listening to this, our lack of interest in developing those events is the number one reason why you're unable to pitch yourself more aggressively to sponsors. The formula for your ability to land a sponsor is right in front of our face. It is how often are you seen? How much influence do you have? And when and how often, of course, is your next opportunity to perform in front of eyeballs? When is it? And there are a few other factors involved in a sponsorship, like your ability to model a suit and be featured on their website. But each suit company really only needs like 2 of you for that. A guy and a girl, and you're good. And so when suit brands bail on swimming and invest in a sport like CrossFit, we can blame the brand all we want, but it should come right back around to us not creating enough value in our ecosystem to warrant deeper investment in our events and in our athletes. I want to pause real quick for a second. Notably, Hunter Armstrong was very candid on social media that he lost a suit partner. Hunter is, and I've talked to many high-level former, like world-level athletes about this. Hunter is maybe one of the most talented athletes I've ever seen perform. He went 21-7 in a 50 free the other day, just seemingly because he wanted to, and has been 46 on a relay in the 100 freestyle, sub 24 in a 50 backstroke. He's one of the most talented swimmers maybe on the USA Swimming roster, and we almost lost him because we are unable to set up a system where one of the most talented athletes in the world cannot see a world where it makes sense for him to keep swimming and keep pounding away at this relentless grind of a sport. Now, the second miss from USA Swimming, in my opinion, is the complete lack of investment in college swimming. And I'll explain what I mean by investment. It confuses me to no end that we don't have deep investment into our college swimming ecosystems. More so, it confuses me to no end that we don't have a public, obvious interest displayed from our governing body in what's happening in college swimming right now, in the college swimming world. It's hurting. I am so deeply involved in that world, and it is hurting. People are scared. It's hurting badly. And some of that is on us. It is. I feel very strongly about our lack of aggressive action in trying to solve our media problems in college swimming, but USA Swimming is absolutely in a position to help. Tim Hinchy, notably, was very interested in diving into the college swimming world and investing in what honestly makes us successful at the next level, more so than anything else. College swimming is that thing that develops the core really of what USA Swimming has been for a really long time. Now, lastly, we need to, all of us, but USA Swimming for sure, we need to take a much deeper look at how we can reignite interest in the general population about swimming at the grassroots level. I see the writing on the walls, and if college swimming, kind of tie these two together, if college swimming opportunities dry up more and more, that carrot that like getting a scholarship in college, swimming on a team, swimming D1, that carrot that you can dangle in front of a club swimmer, a talented club swimmer, and say, you can go do this thing. If that dries up and becomes less realistic, a club coach trying to convince a kid with immense talent who has the opportunity to go play baseball or maybe soccer or maybe football, but is so talented in the pool, they lose the ability to convince that kid that he should come back for one more practice. We're making their job damn near impossible. This is a long video, but I'll leave you with this. We need to start innovating. Bottom line, we need a leader that doesn't just want to survive in their role long enough to get to the next paycheck. We need someone who wants to come up and step up to the plate and start swinging. We might miss a few times, but we need someone that's willing to swing the bat. You know, we need someone to come in and lead this entire sport into the next era of swimming, leading from the front. It starts with reimagining our annual domestic events. It starts with reimagining the impact we can have on the grassroots level. And it starts with taking action, aggressive action and quick. With that being said, what do I know? Hopefully this video doesn't get me sued. If it does, I'll be starting a GoFundMe because, believe it or not, being in swimming media doesn't pay the bills. Maybe if we started turning our events into actual events and not just club meets for older people, we would have more things to talk about in media. If you see people start careers in swimming media and not make it to the point where it can consistently be their career, I would point back to our lack of the ability to turn events into real events in this sport. Like the video, watch it twice so I can pay my rent. I'm not as optimistic about swimming as a career for me as I once was, but I'm not giving up hope yet. Thanks for listening. Let's have peaceful, positive, it doesn't have to be positive, but productive conversation in the comments. Thanks again for listening. Goodbye.